Doctor Who is back. Doctor Who, you know, that show... Oh, no. That show was away for a long, long time. In the year 2018, we got the news... And don't worry, this is not going to have spoilers. No spoilers here. We got a new show with... Or we got a new doctor, Jodie Whittaker. And at first, I was just kind of like, this is... it's not great, it's not bad, it's not great. But then, you know, around the second episode of the season, I gave her much more of a chance, and I thought, you know, I can see what they're doing with the show now. And, I ended up liking it, season 11. And, a lot of people didn't. Like, people like Nerdrotic. Nerdrotic, if you don't know, is a channel that likes to say dumb things that are popular because they get clicks. Back when the Doctor Who hate train hadn't quite taken off to full capacity, he gave much more nuanced reviews of Doctor Who. But as soon as the, we'll call him the anti-woke crowd, as soon as the anti-woke crowd got their hands on the new Doctor being female, they decided that no matter what Jodie Whittaker did, the show was now the worst it had ever been. Why? Because they were talking about politics left and right, even though the show had been talking about politics for a long time. They had more representation left and right, even though the show had representation for a long time. And they were supposedly, and this was the funniest part to me, supposedly demonizing white males in the show. The show was saying if you are a white male, you are a bad guy. Oh, that's weird. I thought, you know, maybe I'm missing something, because, you know, there are people who can demonize the majority unfairly. And, you know, it's not a thing that's impossible. Like, I don't like this whole train of being like, oh, really? A white evangelical Christian male, cisgender and heterosexual is being oppressed in this scenario? It's like, well, maybe. I don't know. Everybody's an individual, right? It's individual circumstances and all that. So I didn't want to completely rule it out, but I watched the show again. I rewatched a lot of those episodes, and I was like, they are full of it, man. I even sat there, because I'm this kind of person, and did an analysis of white males in the show and what they did. And I found that most white males in the show were positive depictions of white males. And not only that, a sizable portion of the villains in the show were brown people. You know? Even brown people who aren't very often represented in the show. There's an episode that took place in India that had some people who were Indian that were antagonists. So I was just trying to figure out, how is the show supposed to be demonizing white males? I could not figure this out. Well, I think it was because the show had a white female lead, and had a female lead, rather. I mean, Jodie Whittaker is white, but that doesn't really play into the equation here, so I won't mention it, and I'm not selecting that out. It's just literally not relevant. They had a female lead, so people thought it's more politically correct now, and there were more brown people in the show, so they thought it's more politically correct now, and every single thing that they thought was some kind of anomaly, they just overemphasized and didn't really care about things that didn't support the narrative. That's just confirmation bias, right? So anytime you had a white male in the show, which was a bad guy, which did happen sometimes, they would say, aha, see? It's all these woke feminists that are just against white males. And that was just really stupid, and I hated it. Because, like, you know, I don't consider myself to be a person who's just, like, some super leftist who will always, always, always back up anything that has representation in it automatically. I think that is dumb, and I don't like to do that. But I was watching this like, where are you getting this narrative of the show is demonizing white males? I mean, this is a show that has had a white male lead for, like, the first 50 years, and you're telling me that suddenly in the new season they're going to be like, yeah, also white males are the worst, we've decided. I don't think they... it just doesn't seem likely to me. Now, were there some annoying, like, I guess leftist talking points, and maybe not even leftist, maybe more like liberal talking points in the show sometimes that they were like, haha. Like, haha, Donald Trump is bad. Like, yeah, that was annoying, okay? There's a good and bad way, I think, to bring up politics in a show, right? You can do, like, allegory, you can allude to things so they age better, but, like, just, like, a so time-specific joke about, like, Donald Trump is just so annoying. It's the same thing about the Brexit joke in the show, which I heard was there. I'm not British, so I didn't catch it, but there was a Brexit joke, which was kind of annoying. You know, I don't usually cling on to things like that, but this was like, what are you talking about, right? So, people like Nerdrotic, coming around to my original point, people like Nerdrotic in the show, when the show came out, they were like, this is the worst now. I hate this. Everything about it is bad and woke and leftist and Twitter and Tumblr and all that other stupid stuff they say in 2018. And, you know, I think most serious fans of the show, and I don't want to do that gatekeeping thing, but when I say serious fans of the show, I mean people who were actually, like, I mean, this could include casual fans, too. I mean, as much as it sounds like an oxymoron, I'm talking about people who are into the show for actually being into the show, not people who are into the show trying to exploit it and see how many clicks they can get from reviewing it. People who are just sitting at home and watching it and paying attention that way. Those people, I think, were either indifferent about the show or liked it. There were very few people who just, like, actively hated it, who were not, like, hacks. And I don't want to take away those people's experience. If you actively hated the show because you didn't like what they were doing with it, that's fine. It would be really hypocritical for me to trash people for that. But, you know, that's kind of the way that was the way the show was, like the state of things. But I think the BBC got real scared of those people like Nerdrotic around that time in 2018, and were like, we have to pull this show now for like a year. And this, I should say, was 2019. So this was before the pandemic, before any of that stuff was even thought of. They decided to pull the show. That was a really cool maneuver I just did there. I can't believe I got out of that. Anyway, they pulled the show for a year. Right when they got a new doctor. Right when they were trying to build hype for the new cast and everything. They decided to pull it. And for a year, like, it just was off the air, and I was so disappointed. And they came back with an episode called, Revolution of the Daleks. No. Resolution of the Daleks. See, I get those mixed up so much. Resolution of the Daleks. Okay? New Year's special. Which they also decided to get rid of the Christmas special, which was the dumbest thing, because they just secured that slot, and they decided to get rid of the Christmas special. So I was like, whatever, man. New Year's special, okay, fine, I'll watch it. They're like, we ran out of ideas. All of time and space, every culture around the world, just couldn't think of a Christmas idea. Maybe we could have a special that didn't take place on Christmas. Maybe it was like a Hanukkah special or like a Kwanzaa special. But no, we couldn't do that because we just have to cancel the whole thing. I guess I'm still more bitter about that than I thought it was. So anyway, they were New Year's special, right? So I watched that New Year's special. I thought it was not as good as the season 11, but it was still okay. It was fine. Okay. Then we started in 2020 because, you know, it was New Year's 2020. They started with the special after the start of the pandemic, so this was 2019 stuff they had been filming again. And that season, I thought, was going really well. Season 12, it was going so well, and then I said I wasn't going to have spoilers, but let's just say something happened that made a lot, and I mean a lot of fans very angry, including myself, which was very frustrating for me because I had been with Doctor Who through the thick and thin of the mediocre Jodie Whittaker episodes, which some of them were mediocre, some of them I thought were really good. I still think, I forgot the name of it. The Saranga Conundrum. The Saranga Conundrum I thought was one of the better Doctor Who episodes in New Who. I think it was pretty good. And Season 12 had some stinkers, to be clear. But it had some episodes that I thought were just, that, you know, we were finally, you know, we were getting back to that really core, like, goodness that the show had enjoyed for a long time. And then they just did this really dumb, inexplicably egregious thing with the show. And I was just like, what are you doing? And then, of course, it was the pandemic, so the show had another hiatus, pretty much, I think. Well, it was a mini hiatus. Then, I just kind of lost interest because I was wondering to myself, what are they going to do with this show now? Are they going to undo what they did? Or are they just going to stick with it because we have to be behind our showrunners? And then it was announced that Russell T. Davies, who was the original, well, not original, but the showrunner during the reboot, 2005 reboot, considered by most to be the best showrunner. Stephen Moffat is a close second. Definitely not Chris Chibnall, but, Russell T. Davies considered to be one of the best. And it was announced that he was going to be running the show. So I was like, okay, so this announcement came out. So I was paying a little bit more attention to Doctor Who again. And then out of the blue, one of my favorite channels when it comes to Doctor Who content, which is called Council of Geeks, their channel randomly has this review. It's called Doctor Who Flux, I don't remember what the name of the episode is, but it's called Doctor Who Flux and then something else review. And I didn't know what Flux was. I'm like, what is Flux? Is it like a comic book series or something? Is it is it something from Big Finish Audio, which is a audio play version of Doctor Who, which is not really canon, but a lot of people follow it. It's got some decent stuff on there. What is this Flux thing? Because it doesn't just say Doctor Who episode review, it says Doctor Who Flux episode review. So I looked it up, and apparently this new season of Doctor Who is called Flux. And the first episode dropped before I had even heard that it was going to happen. And I was just thinking, how is the Doctor Who press so bad that me, a person who is a pretty decent fan of Doctor Who, I've seen a lot of classic Who, I've seen all 12 seasons of the new show, I can name all the Doctors, I can name most of the plot lines in Doctor Who. A pretty much hardcore fan like me had no idea this was happening. Think about that marketing, where it's just you have an episode dropping, and a lot of Americans just didn't know what was happening, probably, because I didn't know. And I'm not saying I'm some kind of pivotal representation of American Doctor Who fans, but I mean, I follow this show reasonably closely because I'm constantly watching old episodes of classic Who. And sometimes I check out New Who again if I just want to rewatch it or show it to somebody else, and I had no idea this was dropping. But it's back now, and apparently we've got 6 episodes that we're going to have of this season. Oh my goodness. That was really cool what I just did there. 6 episodes of this new season. And the first one was bloated and overcrowded and not great. But it had some really funny jokes in it, and I'm interested, I'm intrigued. The new episode is dropping tomorrow. So, Doctor Who. That's what I'm doing recently.